Hare Krishna. So let us start with this prayer for invoking auspiciousness. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm increasing the screens so that I can see most of you. So today we are covering chapter 10 from Krishna Book. It is called the Deliverance of Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So before Janmashtami and appearance day of Srila Prabhupada, the wonderful 125th appearance day, we were talking about the 9th chapter. His Grace Asitaradya Prabhu explained very wonderfully the pastime, the Damodar Leela, where Yashoda Mata has bound Lord Krishna. And all the wonderful points that you would have remembered that Prabhuji mentioned about the endeavor and mercy. And he also mentioned that from endeavor to receive the mercy, you have to offer prayers in between. So Mother Yashoda has offered prayers in her heart. And because of that, finally, Lord Krishna has got bound. And Mother Yashoda has already gone now to do the other household work. And Lord Krishna is left there with this wooden grinding mortar. He is tied there and he has nothing else to do. And of course, Lord Krishna is not going to just sit there in the managed isolation with his wooden grinding mortar. He has to do something. No one can bind him like this and no one can keep him bound for a long time. So what he does, as usual, is the pastime that goes further. But in this particular chapter, which is called the Deliverance of Nalakuvara and Manigriva, now we are talking about the sons of Kuvera. Now these two, the sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvara and Manigriva. Kuvera is the treasurer of all the demigods. That means he's a very rich man. And getting the birth in very rich family is a great fortune. And of course, becoming demigod itself is a result of their pious activities which they would have done in the past lives. So they, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, have become demigods. They have unlimited opulence available at their disposal. But unfortunately, just like Srila Prabhupada mentions in the chapter, just like rich men's sons, they become addicted generally to wine and women. And similarly, these two have become addicted to wine and women. And because of that, they have degraded themselves. So one day, they entered, both of them, they entered into the garden of Lord Shiva. Now, Kuvera is a devotee of Lord Shiva, and because of Lord Shiva's mercy, he, and of course, his family now has access to Lord Shiva's Kailash province. So These two, they entered the garden of Lord Shiva on Kailash mountain and on the bank of Mandakini Ganges. Now imagine this. You have gone to a holy place, like in Vrindavan, and you have gone to Yamuna, and suddenly you jump inside Yamuna and you open your bottle of alcohol and you start drinking and you actually frivolously start dancing and whatever. That's a big offense. So these two, they have been so fortunate that they got access to Kailash mountain. Not only Kailash mountain, but a very private, which is the garden of Lord Shiva himself. And not only the garden of Lord Shiva, but also the Ganges in the heavenly planet, which is the Mandakini Ganges. And even after getting the access to Mandakini Ganges, what do? They drink, they get intoxicated, and they jump inside naked with the other friends, girlfriends that they had naked, and with the fragrance of these lotus flowers is intoxicating them more. And on top of that, these women girlfriends, these women that they have, they are singing beautiful songs, and with that they are playing with each other. Now, what is the lesson that we have here? So the lesson is, just by having some vicinity of something very pure, like a dham or association of pure devotees, that doesn't actually guarantee progress in our spiritual life. You have to actually take association in the right mood, only then you will be able to progress. So Srila Prabhupada used to give examples. He used to say that there is this beautiful temple which is getting built. One time looking at the temple construction, possibly I think it was in Juhu or somewhere, I think he was mentioning that look at these laborers who are working for building this temple. But their internal consciousness is not that they are building a temple of the Lord. Their consciousness is, I am just doing some work so that I can get some money, and using that money I will somehow or the other maintain my body or do my other things that I want to do. So even though they are building a temple, they are not getting the benefit of doing proper devotional service. Srila Prabhupada also used to give an example that of a mosquito who's sitting on a pure devotee's body. So looking at that mosquito, you may think that, oh, see, this mosquito is so fortunate. This mosquito has the closest association possible with this pure devotee. He is sitting directly on the body of the pure devotee. But what is the mosquito doing? Is mosquito actually hearing the Krishna Katha, and is he trying to progress spiritually? No. The mosquito is sitting there and biting the pure devotee and sucking the blood. So what we can actually learn from this? So we also have this favorable condition available to all of us. Due to Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he has given us this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He has given us that association of so many devotees and a lot of opportunity for doing service. But just like Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they were associates of Lord Shiva staying in Kailash, bathing in Ganges, they did not progress. It is not guaranteed that just we remain here, that we meet all the devotees every now and then, we do some service, or somebody is saying that, oh, do this vacuuming, you do this. It's not going to actually make us progress very fast. We need to actually take the association. When we actually go in association of devotees, we will only progress if we take spiritual association. I always give this example that two devotees coming together and talking about cricket is not association, is not devotee association. The association will be when we are sitting together, or two devotees, when they come together, they are talking about Krishna Katha. They are asking some spiritual questions and then getting some answers. They are trying to find out how you are actually doing in your Krishna consciousness, how you are able to progress, how I can actually get some benefit from what you are doing, and I can implement that also in my life. I can get inspiration, and that is how we can progress. So we have to have an open heart as well as this eagerness to learn something and implement in our life. Only then the association is going to help us. Of course, by remaining in association, by eating prasad or whatever, some slow progress will happen. But we don't want to do slow progress. It is said, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. Tivrena Bhakti Yogena means we have to actually have this forceful desire that I want to actually go very fast towards Krishna. And that will actually help us progress very fast. Otherwise, just like Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they are intoxicated. We will also get intoxicated. Now, what kind of intoxication we may get? We may get intoxication of any small thing. So we may get intoxicated because, say, suppose we, just by remaining in ISKCON for some time, we will be able to speak about Krishna. And this ability to speak about Krishna, some people may glorify, and that may give intoxication. Some people, like the devotees, may gather some skills, like singing very nicely, or doing wonderful dresses for the deities, or garlands for the deities, or playing mridanga, or cooking nicely, or anything in Krishna consciousness. Even that skill, little skill that we may have, that also can give us pride. And that pride is going to actually cause the fall down of a devotee. Because Krishna doesn't like pride. What does Krishna like? He has said humility. Humility is the key for going closer and closer to Krishna. So if we do not have humility and we have opposite of humility, which is pride, then of course we are not going to make any progress in our Krishna consciousness. So we have to give up the pride. Whatever little that we know, we need to understand that we are instruments in the service of the Supreme Lord, and we have to utilize that properly in Krishna's service without having any pride. So Kunti Maharani explains that many people get different, like the pride, because of various different reasons. In the first canto, 8th chapter, 26th verse, Kunti Maharani says, Janma Ishwarya Shuta Shribhir Edhmana Madah Puman Naivar Hatya Vidhatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. So she is saying Janma, Aishwarya, Shuta, and Shri. These four things actually cause Madah Puman. In the people, they cause pride. So Janma means some respectable parentage. So I am born in this particular family, which is a very respectable family. And because of that, I get pride that, see, I have such a high parentage. Then Janma Aishwarya. Aishwarya means riches. You have great opulence, and because of that richness, you get pride. Shruta. Shruta means you actually highly educated, either materially educated, spiritually educated, whatever, but it may give pride that we are able to quote verses, you are able to sing verses, you are able to quote various different references. You can speak for a long time on Krishna consciousness, philosophy, or any other topic as well, materially, and that intelligence will give some pride. And then Shuta Shribhir. Shri means bodily beauty. So bodily beauty can also give a lot of pride. So these four are the causes of pride. But Krishna is not attracted by any of these. It is said that Tvam Akinchana Gocharam, that you are actually interested, or you get attracted to those who are materially exhausted, that those who have actually exhausted all their material life, and they are thinking, now this is enough. I have had enough of this material life. I want actually now I'm not interested in this temporary and relative happiness. Now I'm interested in my eternal happiness, which I can only get by connecting myself to the Supreme Lord in His service. So only those people or those devotees that Krishna then becomes interested in. So sons of Kuvera are now proud. They are misusing the opportunity that they have received. And they are now in that Mandakini Ganges. And suddenly what happens? On merciful Narad Muni arrives. Narad Muni is an extraordinary devotee. He is actually, of course, a pure devotee, but he is a spiritual master of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Vyasadeva. Now imagine you are Vyasadeva's spiritual master. When Vyasadeva gets confused, now Vyasadeva is not an ordinary person. He is literally incarnation of the Supreme Lord. He is the one who, considering that the people in Kali Yuga won't be able to understand the scriptures, he split those Vedas into 4 parts. Then he wrote 18 Puranas, he wrote 108 Upanishads, he wrote Vedanta Sutras, and so many things that he has written. And after that, if he gets confused, then who does he go to? He goes to Narad Muni. So such a wonderful devotee, such exalted devotee, and he's a close associate of the Lord. It is said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kai, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hai. Even a moment of association of a pure devotee can actually make our life. And that is what is going to happen with this too, by this association of Narad Muni. So Narada Muni appeared in the garden to give these 2 sons of Kuvera his mercy by giving them the seed of devotional service. So Narad Muni comes, and both of these, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they are intoxicated. They don't even notice that Narad Muni has come. Now Narad Muni doesn't come silently, hidden or anything like that. He is always singing Lord's glories on his veena. He's always singing the kirtan. So even they couldn't hear him, they couldn't see him, and they kept on drinking their wine and then playing with the women in the water. But the women were not intoxicated as much as these 2. They actually noticed Narad Muni has come and they got ashamed that how come, and in front of such a wonderful pure sage, that we are naked in this water, and they started covering their bodies. But these 2 actually did not bother. They just continued their pastime or time pass. So they got so Narad Muni saw that these 2 have got demigod bodies, but they are still living like animals. They are degraded by their intoxication. And he thought of their welfare, that what can I do now for them? And out of his compassion for them, he exhibited his causeless mercy. Why? Cursing them. Now, first of all, compassion and curse doesn't go together. So how is this compassion? So Narad Muni saw that because of their past life karma, they have got demigod bodies. And with this life's karma, they are actually going to lead hellish life in the future life, in the next birth. So Narad Muni wanted to finish their false temporary enjoyment and their spree of sinful activities. Otherwise, they would continue their sinful activities and millions of lifetimes they will actually be suffering into hellish life. So they have got higher than human life, and from that they are going to get degraded in animal life or in hellish life. So to stop that degradation, he showed compassion and he wanted to stop their false enjoyment and give them Krishna. So that is why it is said out of compassion. What is causeless mercy here? And causeless mercy and curse also, it seems that they don't go together. Now, mercy, when we actually hear, we always think about some special Mahaprasadam that we get on Janmashtami day, or we get to touch the feet of a pure devotee, or we think that, oh, we should get the Charanamrit, or directly some fruit from the altar, or the flowers from the altar, like that. And we think that that is the mercy that we have received. Now, mercy in the scriptures, we can see that various different devotees have received it in different ways. For example, Brahma gave mercy to and the blessings to Dhara and Drona. And by that blessing, we were hearing in the previous sessions that how they became Nanda and Yashoda and then got Krishna as their son. Shukadeva Goswami appeared suddenly when Parikshit Maharaj was sitting at the bank of Ganges and mentioned to him this entire Srimad Bhagavatam, and the 10th canto of that we are now reading in the form of Krishna Book. That's mercy. But also a curse can become mercy. A curse can become causeless mercy. And he has explained this. Naredmuni explains that these two have become bewildered by the riches, that they have become very rich, and that is why they have got bewildered. And these riches or this bewilderment is even worse than the bewilderment that someone gets by the beautiful bodily features or taking birth in aristocratic family or being learned. So that Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shribhir that we talked about, Narad Muni says that Aishwarya is the worst kind of bewilderment and gives the most pride. And that leads to enjoyment of wine, women, wealth. And if the person becomes too much bodily focused and too much, it gets engaged in bodily kind of enjoyment. And he forgets that this body actually does not belong to him or her. It is said that this body is owned by the person who feeds it. So is the body owned by the father, or is the body owned by the mother who keeps the body inside her womb? Or is it the employer who is giving the wages, and because of that, then the person is able to eat? Is that employer owning the body, or some other master who is owning the body? Or is it the fire who engulfs this body at the end of the life and finishes it? Is that fire owning the body? Srila Prabhupada explains that actually this body is made of the material modes or material nature, the 5 elements. Out of that, this body is made. And this body goes back to material nature at the end of this life. So it actually belongs to material nature. It doesn't belong to us. It is belonging to material nature. And we get this body temporarily as an instrument to serve the Lord. But if that instrument, if we use for gliding down by sinful activities, then it is a misuse of that instrument. And Narad Muni saw that these two have got a very good instrument, but they are using it in a worse way. And that is why he is trying to save these two from falling down. So he decides that the solution is the poverty, because from rich to poor, if someone is poor and then they become rich, then they have a lot of empathy. And out of that empathy, then they actually understand the pain of the other people, that how they are living in this poverty, and they actually do a lot of charity out of that empathy. And when they are poor, they automatically go through a lot of austerities and penances, because it's a forced austerity and penances, but still that is there. Then automatically it gives humility. Their false prestige is vanquished. They get satisfaction, they have to be satisfied with what is obtained because they have no choice. The automatically sense control is there because they do not get enough food, so their senses are not strong enough to actually demand for various kinds of sense enjoyments. So automatically sense control happens. Then they are harmless because they are unable to perform harmful envious activities. And basically, and the most important benefit of poverty is that they have easy access to saintly people. Generally, rich people, they don't like the saintly people. And even saintly people don't go to the rich people's house. But whereas the saintly people, it is very easy for them to be accessed by the poor people. And that actually will help them to make easy progress on their spiritual life. So out of his causeless mercy, then he decides to curse them. And the curse was that you will become trees, Yamala Arjuna trees, and you will remain in the tree's body for 100 celestial years. Now, celestial years means demigods years. One day in demigods in heavenly planet is 6 months here. That means you calculate this 100 celestial years means how many years on the planet Earth they remained as trees, thousands of years. Trees are all automatically naked. So if you want to remain in the naked body, then you better be a tree. And not only he made them trees, but he gave them the remembrance in the tree's body that why they have been cursed. And by the special mercy, see, till now, if Narad Muni says that you become trees or you become trees of Yamalarjuna, you remain there for 100 years, where is the mercy? The mercy is coming in the next part. The mercy is, he's saying, by my special mercy, after 100 celestial years, you will see Lord Krishna face to face. And thus you will revive your original position. Now, if you think about this, looking at the activities of this Nalakuvara and Manigriva, it would have been impossible for them to get purified in 100 years. 100 celestial years means they are demigods. So in their own 100 years, it would have been impossible for them to get purified. In fact, in those 100 celestial years, they would have done so many sinful activities they would have continued to do, and that would have created millions of their births in lower lives. But in those 100 celestial years, by Narad Muni's mercy, not only they are going to get completely purified, they are getting to see Krishna face to face, Lord Krishna face to face. No one is able to actually see Lord Krishna face to face, even demigods. So this is why it is a causeless mercy. This curse is a causeless mercy of Narad Muni. So as you know, this pastime, so now these two have become Yamal Arjuna trees in Nanda Maharaja's courtyards. For 100 celestial years that they have waited, they are now starting to see Lord Krishna roaming around here and there. And at that point in time, Krishna thinks that I can't be just tied here, and he starts dragging the wooden grinding mortar. So when he starts pulling the wooden grinding mortar very easily, he is the Supreme Lord. For him, that wooden grinding mortar is nothing. So he's just dragging it, and he looks here and there. When he comes in the courtyard, he looks here and there, and he could have taken any direction. He could have gone in any direction with that wooden grinding mortar. But to fulfill the promise of Narad Muni, because he thinks that, oh, my pure devotee has given this promise, I will actually fulfill that promise. And out of his causeless mercy, now it was a causeless mercy of Narad Muni, because of which they became trees, and they got the vision of Supreme Lord face to face. But out of Krishna's causeless mercy, to fulfill the pure devotee's promise, he started walking toward these trees. And then, as we all know, he passed through the tree, and the wooden grinding mortar fell horizontally, and it got stuck between these two trees. And Lord Krishna just kept on going, and with that slight pull that he put on these two trees, these huge trees, and as Asitaradya Prabhuji was explaining, that the peculiarity of these trees is that the tall they become, the roots become go into the earth that of the same distance, and these huge trees actually fell down immediately and made tremendous tumultuous sound. And these two celestial bodies of Manigriva and Nalakuvara, that they come out and they started offering prayers. So very briefly, they say that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are cause of all causes. Out of your causeless mercy, you appeared in this material world to liberate fallen people like us. My father Kuvera is, our father Kuvera is your servant. Naredmuni is also your servant. And by his mercy, we got your darshan. And we pray that we may always be engaged in your transcendental loving service. And how we want to do this transcendental loving service? They say that we want to always speak your glories. We always want to hear your transcendental pastimes. We want our hands and other limbs be engaged in your service. Our minds will always be concentrated on your lotus feet, and our heads will always be bowed down before you, O Lord. So when they offer this prayer, Lord Krishna responds to them. And he says that, I know that Narada has shown this special mercy unto you, and he has saved you from abominable condition of life because of your pride. And you are very fortunate to get cursed by him. So you got his curse, but even just a darshan of a pure devotee is very, very fortunate. If someone is able to see such a saintly person, then they immediately get liberated. Lord Krishna is saying that if a person just get darshan of naredmuni or any pure devotee like him, they get liberated. So he says, O Nalakuvara and Manigriva, your lives have now become successful because you have developed ecstatic love for me. So this is your last birth. Now you go back to your demigod activity, and at the end of this lifetime, so you go back to heavenly planet, and at the end of the lifetime, you will be liberated. So after this, the demigods, these Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they circumambulate Lord Krishna multiple times, and then they go away. And the Lord remained bound up with the ropes to the grinding mortar. So that is how this chapter finishes, and the remaining part then we will see in future. So I'll stop here and I'll take any questions that you may have. Okay, Kirtivanta Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, my question is, normally, when we want to, we've come to this material world because we've, we want to enjoy separately from the Lord, which is what it looks like Manigriva we're doing, right? Nalakuvara and Manigriva we're doing. And then to get delivered, then we have to prove, basically, and you have to show that actually, yeah, we deserve to come back and we really want to come back. Now, with Naredmuni's curse, already, as you said, it's already a blessing. So they were guaranteed to go back by Lord Krishna without having to kind of do anything to return back. They were trees and they were stuck like that. So, how can we understand that, after doing so many sinful activities, then Naredmuni already blessed them to say you'll automatically go back, but you just have to kind of spend 100 years in a tree state, and then you get to go back. How do we understand?
Yes. It's a good question. So if we understand what Bhagavad Gita is telling us, what is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita? Conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha. So Lord Krishna has already said that if you surrender unto me, all the sinful reactions, I will take care of that, and you will come back to me. So when we actually take up the process of bhakti, what sinful reactions or what sinful actions that we have done in the past, that does not matter. What matters is whether you are going to stop doing those activities in future and you surrender unto the Supreme Lord or not. If you actually do that, then whatever sinful reactions you have accumulated, they get washed up, they get washed away. So you don't have to worry about what sinful reactions, what sinful actions you have done, and how many sinful reactions that you have accumulated from the millions of past lives. It doesn't matter, because you actually do not know how many millions of births you have taken and how many millions of reactions that you have accumulated in your past lives. You do not have any count of that. And it may be like huge mountain, more than like bigger than Himalayas. And how are you going to actually wash them off by your own endeavors? It is not possible. You can only get rid of those reactions by the mercy of a pure devotee who is going to accept you as a disciple. When a spiritual master accepts a disciple, at that time, the reactions are taken away by the Supreme Lord through the medium of the spiritual master. And that is how then we get cleansed of it. But what is required is that we do not create any new reactions, we should not do any new sinful actions. If we do that, then it is not good. And then it will not help us in progressing in our spiritual life. Is that answering, or did I answer your question completely, Prabhuji? Or was there any other part that is remaining?
Yeah, I think possibly I didn't ask it probably well enough. The other part, I guess, is, how did naredmuni know that being trees, that they are ready to surrender to Lord Krishna? Because they were in such a state that they weren't surrendering, they were enjoying themselves materially. And then naredmuni, I guess, from what it seems, right, that he said, okay, you're going to be cursed to be trees, but you're automatically going to be delivered. So they knew at that time that automatically the deliverance was there. Whereas for everyone else, our deliverance, we have to do something to be delivered. We have to
yeah. There was a part that I mentioned in between. I did not elaborate on that a lot. So as part of the curse, not only they got this tree's body, but also Narad Muni gave them the remembrance of their past lives and why they actually became the trees. So if you actually are getting punished for your sinful action into a particular situation, and you also get the remembrance of why that has happened, and they were already demigods actually. So, and their pride suddenly got crushed, and out of that, their intelligence actually got reawakened, and they actually start repenting in those trees' bodies for 100 celestial years. And they have been now looking, and they have been waiting for Lord Krishna to come and to liberate them. So this remembrance of Lord Krishna, as well as the repentance of their sinful activities, because of that, they are actually progressing towards Krishna. And in this mood, when Lord Krishna came in front of them, face to face, then their sinful reactions were washed away. So because their desire was there, so as we were talking about, see, they actually got association of Lord Shiva's garden. They got association of Mandakini Ganga. So as we say that Ganga actually purifies everyone. But here they actually were doing more sinful activities within Ganga, right? So because their consciousness was not right. So the similar kind of situation, because their consciousness was not right, they degraded. But now their consciousness actually was on the mend because of Narad Muni's association and his causeless mercy and compassion, which came as curse. And that is how they actually went from that up consciousness to the right consciousness, and they started progressing towards Krishna. So what Narad Muni did was, they were going away from Krishna very fast. He turned them towards Krishna at the same speed. And that is how within the 100 celestial years, by mercy of Narad Muni, they got purified.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. So from that, then can we understand that, for example, if they decided, if they remembered everything still and still weren't repenting, then they would have continued the state of the trees or continued to suffer, and they wouldn't have been delivered. So it wasn't like Naredmuni wrote them a blank check to say, here, you're definitely, this is definitely guaranteed your effort is required.
Yeah, if we actually get, so we can actually see this automatically by the previous life of Nalakuvara and Manigriva, that though they got wonderful opportunity, if you waste that opportunity, it is not guaranteeing that you are going to progress. But in this particular situation, the difference was that Naradmuni has already cursed them, and that through that curse, the blessing is already there. So it was by his powerful association, the change of heart was going to come into them. So it was guaranteed that their change of heart is going to come. But of course, the free will is still there, and you can still degrade. No one is going to stop you from degradation. But of course, in this particular situation, Narad Muni's powerful association was going to save them. And that is why it was said, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhikar.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very clear.
Bharadwaj Rishi Prabhu, your daily dose of a question. Go for it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nicely explained. Thank you. And Prabhuji, I just want to, this is a little bit sidetracked from the pastime, Prabhuji. So I just want to understand the relation between the pure devotee and the Lord. See, from the, in the so many pastimes, like we see Durvasa Muni also, coming in, and then, I think he's also a pure devotee. Otherwise, like, he is like he's featured in so many pastimes, right? In a way, like, he's also contributing to the pastime, for the pastime to happen, right? So how should we understand, say, Durvasa Muni getting angry? Is that also Lord's will happening through him? Or is it like, because when we read about Durvasa Muni, the moment Durvasa Muni comes, he gets angry, we like kind of come into that, degrading, this thing, thinking.
Yeah.
So is that right? Are we making an offense when we say something like that about Durvasa Muni?
See, Durvasa Muni is not coming into pure devotees category. It is never said, at least I haven't read, that Durvasa Muni is considered as a pure devotee. Durvasa Muni is a yogi, and he has lot of powers that he has acquired through his austerities. And those yogic powers, or this Ashta Siddhis or whatever, that with those powers, he is actually going around. And he's performing, and he's causing trouble most of the time. So to the devotees especially, because we can see the pastime where he was trying to cause trouble to Draupadi and all the Pandavas. Then he went and tried to cause trouble to Ambarish Maharaj. So we can see that his mood or disposition is not of like favorably towards the devotees as well as towards the Lord. But the Ashtanga yogis, like all yoga processes, are finally connection to the Supreme Lord. The Bhakti Yoga process has this additional part of love or advanced connection, or we can say it is more closely associated with the Supreme Lord as compared to all these other processes. So all the other processes also have some amount of love involved. But these other processes like Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Ashtanga Yoga has a very small amount of love, though it is in increasing order, but suddenly it increases logarithmically inside the Bhakti Yoga process. And that is where the power to control even the Lord comes in. The Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, or Ashtanga Yogi doesn't have the power to control the Lord. Krishna doesn't say that I am owned by a Karma Yogi or a Jnana Yogi or Ashtanga Yogi, but he says that I am owned by a pure devotee, and a pure devotee can give me to others because I am owned by them. I am their property. Krishna says that I am their property, and they can actually give me to others. So that is why when Naredmuni actually comes into a scene and he curses, that has a different effect because he has the power to give the Supreme Lord to others because he's a pure devotee. But Durvasa Muni, though he is a powerful yogi, he doesn't have the power to give Krishna to others.
Okay.
So that is the difference.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. Thank you.
Okay, Sannivas Prabhuji or Lavanga Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, my question is to even get the mercy of Narad Mahamuni, is there any backstory for Nalakuvara?
Yeah. So
one more, because we can see that in this world when Narad Mahamuni is moving, there's so many people who doing so many abominable activities, but why he was given only to them? Is there any backstory to it?
yeah, if there is any backstory, Prabhuji, I'm not aware of what has happened and that has caused this. But the reason why we call this as a causeless mercy is because there is no cause to it. It is the desire of a pure devotee to give mercy to someone. That is when the pure devotee gives that mercy. And that is why it is said that there is no cause. That is why it is called causeless mercy. There is no material cause. So if there is any previous pastime mentioned in some other Puranas, I haven't read that in Srimad Bhagavatam, any pastime, but there may be something. So we can ask someone else, some other devotees that who will be coming. We can ask them if they know anything about it, Prabhuji. Okay. Hare Krishna. Ramakrishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, as you mentioned in one of the slide, like
Yes.
poverty is means we got easy approach for the saintly persons, saints, like saintly people.
Yes, bro. So what is the question?
Is it practically still applicable in these days, Prabhuji, or it is for that age?
Yeah. Actually, why it is said that for poor people, saintly people are more accessible is mainly because the rich people are proud. And wherever there is opulence that is there is this desire to protect that opulence that actually comes into heart of the people. And Srila Prabhupada, I was reading one purport recently, and he was giving an example of America. He says that America is so opulent, that is why it is so hard for people to enter into America. So similarly, whenever, like if you can see that if there is a very opulent country, then it is hard to actually get the visa to it. But if it is a poor country, and not very developed or underdeveloped, it is easy to get the visa to enter that country. So similarly, when it is rich, a person is rich because of his pride and he is having this arrogance. Because of that, he is actually trying to protect everything, and he doesn't give even access to the saintly people. And also the saintly people also avoid them from the perspective that if they are not interested, then if they are not interested to hear the Krishna Katha, then what is the point? So the problem here is not whether you are rich or poor. The problem is the pride that we have of anything that we have. Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta or Shribhi. If you have these four, Janma, if you have good parentage, it is good. You can actually use that good parentage and progress towards Krishna. If you have Janma Aishwarya, if you have a lot of money, we can see that there are so many rich devotees for whom the access to Krishna was possible. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we see Arjuna is a king, Ambarish Maharaj is king, Yudhishthir Maharaj is king. All these other devotees that we see, they are big kings. So that means they are rich. But the difference is that they do not have pride. Because they do not have pride, that is why it was possible for them to get access to the devotees and to the Lord. So if we remain humble, then whether you have good parentage, like richness, Janma Ishwara Shruta means you are very highly educated, or you have beauty, as long as you do not have pride of these things, they are going to, that means you have got a good instrument. And that instrument, you can use it in Krishna's service properly. As long as we take away the pride, then these four things will not actually come into our way. But if we have pride, then it will be difficult. So it is not whether you are rich or poor that is going to create problem. In Manigriva and Nalakuvara's case, naredmuni's analysis was that their pride came from their richness. So for that, solution was that give them forcibly poverty. And if you are then poor, then suddenly so many things forcibly comes to you, like humility comes, and all these other things that Narad Muni mentioned, they came automatically. And that was the solution which was given. Is that, and does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yeah, got it, Prabhu. Got it, my answer. Thank you.
Sudharma Mataji or Sudhanma Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for
Hare
the
Krishna.
lecture. Prabhuji, my question was same related to what Ramakrishna Prabhu was asking. So I got a little bit of answer from the
Okay.
from how he explained. But following on, one more added question I had is, if a person is actually born in a poverty-stricken family, like as compared to a wealthy person who is using it inappropriately, like a kripana, but for a poverty-stricken person, I think his opportunities will be less, isn't it? Because he's busy maintaining his own family. He doesn't have the necessary food and other things to maintain himself. So the austerities he's performing is like a trusted one. So will he still be getting the benefit of doing that type of austerity? One question. And also the second is like how to say, will he become a God conscious person, because he will be other way like cursing him, thinking like, no, I'm put in this position because of him. Though he may he may accept his karma or not. Other thing is like he can't get proper education as well. So his access to scriptures is also not there. So how we can understand like being born in a poverty-stricken condition is going to help that person?
Yeah. So as I said, Mataji, earlier, whether you are rich or poor is not going to make a difference. Just like I explained to you earlier, that if you have close proximity or no proximity of a devotee, it is not going to make a difference if you are not going to actually take or make use of it. So as it was mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, that in the 6th chapter, that those who have taken this path and then they actually fall down from that path after performing little devotional service, then they get birth in the rich and aristocratic family. Now the idea was that rich and aristocratic family will give you enough opulence and you don't have to struggle for your daily necessities, and you get enough time to actually pursue this spiritual path. But that doesn't guarantee. You have got rich life or this rich birth, but that is not guaranteeing that you are going to take it. You have to take it. You have to take some effort to use the facility that is given to you. If you do not use it, then it is wasted. Similarly, this poverty is also, it is giving you forced humility and all the forced austerity and penances. But the person is not doing it for doing it as a penance or austerity or the humility. It is a forced situation onto him, whether he uses that opportunity to actually connect to Krishna just by becoming Artha. Artha Artharthi Jigyasu or Jnani. We saw that in the 7th chapter, 14th verse, 15th, that the 4 kinds of people, 15 or 16, I think 16, 4 kinds of people who connect to the Supreme Lord. So Arth is there. So if you use that opportunity to connect to Krishna, then it will be beneficial for you. If that doesn't bring any transformation or any change, then it is not going to help you. It is like that. So see, if anyone wants to progress, that is why this Bhakti Yoga process is like that. Whether you are rich or poor, whether you are young or old, whether you are Indian or Kiwi, whether you are like a man or woman, anyone can take this process and progress equally towards towards Krishna. It is not that the rich has higher possibility than poor. If you take with whatever situation that you are in, you can take up this process to connect to Krishna and develop love for Krishna. The opportunity is available. In case of Manigriva and Nalakuvara, because they have become proud, to remove that pride, there was this dose or medicine was given by the expert physician naredmuni, and he said that, oh, for your kind of problem, here I give you these 2 tablets. Take it and you will become poor. Each tablet for each one of you, you will become poor, you will become trees, you can remain naked, you will remember everything from the past life. After 100 years, another expert person will come and he will revive you. Like that. So that was the medicine that was given to them, and that is how they got liberated so quickly. So that is the act of special mercy on them. They had no hope, actually, but by Narad Muni's expert intervention, they actually got liberated. Otherwise, for millions of births, because of their sinful activities, they would have remained in this material world. But just in that one lifetime, they were able to go back. It is because of the causeless mercy of Narad Muni. So for our own situation, we may have a different kinds of medicines, and we may have different issues or problems. And those issues and problems can actually, our Shiksha Diksha Gurus will be able to help us to solve. And if we are able to take it properly, if you are able to take that feedback properly and then implement that in our life, then we will progress. Otherwise, there will be a very good discussion that may happen, and then we may not be able to take even that feedback. And if that feedback is not taken, then we will remain where we are. So doctor can give you medicine, the patient has to take it. Doctor cannot take that medicine for you, or doctor cannot actually force that medicine into our throat. Doctor can only see, oh, this is the problem that you have. Okay, here is the medicine. Now medicine will be given to you. Whether you take it or not, it is up to us. And if we take it, then we will make progress. Rich or poor, doesn't matter. Is that making sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. It's quite late, but I'll take this last question and we will close. Mukesh Prabhu.
Prabhuji, just briefly wanted to make the observation in relation to the same discussion we were having, that I've seen that mostly people who are poor or poverty stricken, they have greater inclination towards religiosity and following rituals and dharma, as opposed to those who are rich, because they have got greater opportunities to misuse their free will. So just wanted to make that comment that I've seen in society, no matter which religion, which culture, which sect you belong to, people who have less facilities tend to rely on God and have more faith in God. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, that is true. But I have seen quite a lot of rich people as well. As you can see, Ambarish Prabhu, Alfred Ford, just by that one rich person taking up Krishna consciousness, and the temple of Vedic Planetarium is getting stood up. He has given millions of dollars, and he is also helping raise many more millions of dollars for building that temple, which is the dream project for Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur. So we see that there are many other rich people as well who have made tremendous contribution. So as I said, rich and poor doesn't matter. The only thing is that we need to have that inclination, and each one may have a different problem in their life. And the poor people may not even take it, rich people may not even take it, or rich people can take it, poor people can also take it. So it all depends on your inclination and whether you are willing to actually make progress towards Krishna.
Prabhuji,
If that desire is there, then it will help.
That is true. One last thing, Prabhuji, even in our own lives, I've seen learning of life when we are in miseries, in troubles, we tend to worship God more, and when in good times, you tend to deviate away from that. So
that is true. I think Gauranga Prabhu was mentioning, he was saying that there are 4 kinds of people who take to Krishna consciousness in Kali Yuga: Artha, 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 and Artha. Distress, 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 and distress.
Very true. Kali Yuga, true. Haribol. Summed up very well. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, so I think we will close here. Tomorrow, very important announcement. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow, 2 days, we have Amarendra Prabhu who is going to give lectures. So please let other friends also know to come and join and hear from Amarendra Prabhu. He is anyway very popular. He's very wonderful devotee. Of course, all the devotees who are coming and speaking here have been very wonderfully explaining the Krishna Katha. But many devotees, I see that they like Amarendra Prabhu. So please let them know that he is coming so that they can take the benefit of hearing from him. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. His Grace Ambarish Maharaj Prabhu ki
Jai.
Jai Krishna Book ki jai. Samaveta
Jai.
Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai.
Hare
Welcome back.